The desert stretched endlessly, its golden sands burning under the twin suns. A lone figure stumbled forward, his body coated with dust, his breathing harsh but steady. It was a human, and he had been running for 3 days without rest. Behind him, the alien patrol marched with confidence, their long strides closing the distance slowly. They were hunters, trained warriors of the Empire, and they laughed as they watched him move. "He should be dead by now," one of them said, his scales glittering under the sun. "No creature can run this long without water, without food," another added, shaking his head. Their commander, a tall alien with dark armor, raised a claw to silence them. "Do not underestimate prey until it lies on the ground," he warned, but his voice carried more pride than concern. To them, this was a game, a hunt they were certain to win. The human's steps dragged across the sand, but his eyes were sharp. Every movement of his body looked weak, yet his mind was awake, calculating. He knew the desert better than they thought. He read the winds, the shifting sands, the shadows of the rocks. He was not just running, he was watching, waiting. At night, the aliens rested, taking turns to guard. The human never stopped, his silhouette always moving against the moonlit dunes. The scout of the patrol, smaller and quicker than the rest, narrowed his eyes. Something felt wrong, he thought. This was no ordinary prey. By the second night, the aliens grew impatient. Their water skins grew lighter, their steps heavier, but the human still moved. "He is weak. Look at him," one soldier mocked, pointing at the distant figure. "He stumbles, he crawls, soon he will fall and beg for mercy." But the scout's skin turned pale, his voice low. "No. He is not begging, he is watching us." The commander dismissed him with a growl. "You are letting the desert play tricks on your mind," he said. Yet even he began to feel unease. Why had the human not collapsed? Why had he not slowed beyond a crawl? Why, after 3 days, did those footsteps still echo ahead of them? On the third morning, they found something strange. At first, it looked like a mistake, footprints in the sand, but the pattern was wrong. Instead of leading forward, they curved back, circling the rocks. The soldiers muttered in confusion. Did he turn around? Is he lost? But the scout whispered, his voice trembling, "No, he is circling us." A silence fell over the group. The desert wind howled, carrying grains of sand that bit at their scales. The commander tightened his grip on his weapon, trying to ignore the growing fear. "This is nothing. He is delirious. His mind is broken from exhaustion," he declared. Yet deep inside, even he felt a chill. That night, one of the soldiers woke suddenly. His water flask was missing, the sand disturbed near his pack. They searched, but there was no trace, no footprints, no sound. The human had been close enough to steal, and none of them had seen him. The camp fell into uneasy silence, each alien watching the shadows. Their laughter was gone, replaced by whispers. The scout crouched low, his voice sharp now. "You do not understand. On his world, humans hunted by chasing prey for days. They did not stop. They did not rest until the prey fell from exhaustion." He looked at his commander, eyes wide. "We are not chasing him. He is testing us. He is waiting." The words settled like poison in their minds. Every sound of the desert felt like his footsteps. Every shadow felt like his eyes. The human was no longer prey in their thoughts. He was something else, something older, something dangerous. As dawn broke, the figure of the human appeared once more on the horizon. He did not stumble this time. His steps were steady, strong. The scout's voice cracked as he pointed at him. "He is not running away anymore." The commander stared across the sands, his chest heavy. For the first time, he realized the truth that his soldiers feared to speak aloud. The human had not been fleeing for 3 days. He had been hunting them. The desert was no longer silent. Every grain of sand seemed to carry whispers, every shadow stretched like claws. The alien patrol, once proud and confident, now walked with nervous steps. Their eyes darted to the dunes, to the rocks, to the sky. The hunt had changed, and they could feel it. The humans' footprints appeared again in the sand, but they were wrong. Too many, too close, circling, weaving. The soldiers bent low to study them, muttering among themselves. "He goes forward, then back, then sideways. Why?" one asked. Another answered with unease. "It is a game. He wants us lost." The commander growled, trying to hold their courage together. "He is desperate. His mind is breaking. Ignore his tricks," he ordered. But his own claws trembled as he traced the marks. The human was not lost, the human was leading them. That night the wind howled like a beast across the dunes. The soldiers sat close around their fire, weapons ready, eyes wide. One by one they dozed off from exhaustion, but when dawn came one soldier did not rise. He lay on the sand, cold, his throat cut with a sharpened stone. Panic tore through the patrol. They searched the ground, but there were no human footprints leading away, only the same endless circle of tracks around their camp. The scout's face turned pale as ash. He was here, he walked among us, and none of us saw. The commander tried to roar, tried to restore order. He is one man, and we are soldiers of the Empire, he bellowed. But his voice broke when he saw something carved into the rock nearby. Simple lines, crude but clear, marks of a predator. It was not a message of words, but of intent. The human had claimed the desert as his hunting ground. As they marched again, they found more signs. Dead lizards left in their path, their throats torn out, bones stacked in patterns along the dunes. Every few miles, the same symbol scratched into stone. The human was not just following them, he was reminding them. You are prey, the soldiers whispered, their strength fading. He steals our water, he steals our food, he watches when we sleep. One dropped his weapon, shaking. This is no human, this is a demon. But the scout corrected him in a trembling voice. No, this is what humans are. This is what they were made for. That night, they set double guards, weapons drawn. They formed a tight circle, eyes burning into the darkness. Yet as the moons rose, a strange sound drifted on the wind. A whistle, soft, almost playful, circling their camp. The soldiers froze, their blood cold. The human was not hiding anymore. He wanted them to know he was near. A soldier fired into the dunes, the blast echoing across the desert. The sound faded, but the whistle did not stop. It moved closer, then farther, then behind them. By dawn, not one of them had slept. Their eyes were red, their bodies trembling, and the scout whispered words that none dared repeat. He is not running, he is choosing. The commander stood tall, but his mind burned with fear. He could not deny it anymore. The human had stolen the hunt from their hands. What began as a chase had turned into a ritual, and they were no longer hunters. They were prey waiting for the strike. The desert nights grew colder, but the fear inside the patrol burned hotter. They marched with heavy steps, their eyes hollow from lack of sleep. The human's presence was everywhere now. Not a shadow, not a ghost, but something more real. Every sound, every shift in the sand made their hearts pound. The hunter was near and they could not escape. As the sun set, the dunes stretched long and black. The patrol set camp, building a fire higher than usual. They hoped the flames would keep the human away, but instead the fire only made their fear worse. Beyond the glow, the desert was pitch black and anything could be hiding there, anything could be watching. The scout stood at the edge of the circle, his weapon ready. He had hunted beasts across 100 worlds, but nothing felt like this. This silence is wrong, he muttered. The commander snarled back. It is only the desert. But even his eyes refused to leave the darkness. Then came the sound, soft, deliberate, a rock rolling across the dunes. The patrol froze, weapons raised, hearts thundering. Another sound followed, a faint whistle, low and mocking. One soldier fired into the night, the blast lighting up the sand. But when the smoke cleared, there was nothing. No footprints, no target, no body. Hours passed, the fire burned low. Suddenly a scream tore through the camp. The patrol spun around, but one soldier was already gone. Dragged into the dark, they rushed to follow. But all they found was blood on the sand, and on a nearby rock carved with sharp stone was that same predator's mark. The human's warning. Panic rippled through the camp. Soldiers shouted at each other, their discipline breaking. Some wanted to flee, others wanted to fight, but the scout only shook his head, his voice cracking. Running will not save us. Fighting will not save us. He is not chasing, he is choosing. The commander tried to rally them. We are soldiers of the Empire. One human cannot break us, he roared. But his voice lacked power. His hands shook as he held his weapon. And when another stone rolled across the sand by itself, even he stepped back. The darkness was alive, filled with footsteps that did not belong. Later that night, they found another body. This time, the soldier's armor was torn open, his chest marked with strange cuts, not random, but deliberate. Symbols. Scratched into flesh, the same marks they had seen on stone. The human was not only hunting them, He was leaving messages in blood. By the fourth day, the patrol was broken. They walked in silence, every step heavy, every glance toward the dunes filled with dread. The desert itself seemed to fight them, heat by day, cold by night, and always the feeling of eyes on their backs. One soldier whispered prayers to old gods, another refused to speak at all, and the scout, pale as bone, whispered the truth none wanted to hear. This is not a chase anymore. This is war. That night they gathered in a circle again, weapons pointing outward. They waited for the whistle, for the sound of footsteps, but instead came silence, thick and endless. The silence grew so heavy that it hurt their ears. And in that silence, they realized something worse than noise. He was already inside the circle. The fire flickered, shadows twisted, and suddenly they knew the human was among them, moving where they could not see. They spun and fired wildly into the night, light flashing, sand exploding, but no body fell, no target revealed itself. Only laughter echoed faintly across the dunes, not loud, not cruel, but terrifying in its calm, the laughter of a hunter who knew his prey was already broken. When dawn came, 3 soldiers were gone, their places empty, their weapons lying in the sand. No one had heard them leave, no one had seen them taken. The commander stood silent, his pride shattered, his chest heavy with fear. He had led his hunters into the desert, but now they were the ones being hunted, and there was no escape. The fourth night came with no stars, only black clouds covering the twin moons. The patrol moved together, close, their eyes bloodshot and hollow. They had lost too many, too quickly, and every step felt like walking into their graves. The commander forced them forward, but even his voice had no strength now. The human had stripped them of pride, of unity, of hope. The scout lagged behind, scanning the dunes with trembling hands. He whispered to himself, "This is no longer a chase, it is a lesson." The others ignored him, but in their hearts they knew he was right. The human was teaching them fear, teaching them what it meant to be prey. Suddenly, the sand ahead shifted. A soldier cried out as his foot sank, and before anyone could react, the ground collapsed. A pit opened beneath him, filled with sharpened stones and jagged bones. His scream ended in silence, his body broken at the bottom. The others pulled back in horror, realizing the truth. The human had built a trap. "How could he?" one soldier gasped. "We never saw him stop, never saw him build." The scout shook his head, voice thin. "He works while we sleep. He builds while we rest. He never stops." The commander clenched his jaw, but sweat rolled down his scaled face. The truth was clear. The human had been preparing them for this moment. They moved cautiously now, each step slow, each dune a possible death. But the traps grew worse. Loose rocks crashed down from cliffs, crushing one soldier into the sand. Another was caught in a snare of ropes made from desert vines, dragged screaming into the darkness. Every trap was clever, every strike precise. The human knew their weaknesses, their fear, their exhaustion, and he used it all. By dawn, only half the patrol remained. They sat in silence, too broken to speak, too afraid to move. The commander stared at the horizon with dead eyes. This was no longer a mission. This was survival, and survival was slipping away. As they rested, they noticed something new, symbols scratched into the sand around their camp, circles, lines, arrows pointing inward. The scout studied them with horror. "They are not random, they are patterns," he whispered. "He is drawing maps, he is showing us where he wants us to go." The soldiers panicked, some shouting, some breaking down. "He herds us like cattle." "On." He screamed, "He toys with us," another sobbed. The commander barked orders, but no one listened anymore. Their discipline was gone, their will shattered. The human's hunt was no longer about killing, it was about control. That night, the whistle returned, but it was different. No longer distant, no longer playful. It was sharp, commanding, echoing from dune to dune. The aliens froze, realizing the truth. The human was calling them, guiding them like a predator leading prey into the final snare. One soldier snapped, running into the dark, desperate to escape. Moments later, his scream echoed, cut short by a sickening crunch. When the patrol reached him, his body hung from a jagged spear of rock. Carved above him were 3 words in broken alien tongue: "Run no more." The scout fell to his knees, shaking violently. "He understands us," he cried. "He learns, he copies, he becomes what we fear most." The commander stood frozen, his claws digging into the sand. This was not prey, this was not man or beast. This was something else. Something that could turn a desert into a weapon. Something that could turn hunters into cattle. And as the moons rose again, the whistle came closer. Not one sound now, but many. It echoed from every side, bouncing around them. The soldiers clutched their weapons, trembling, and for the first time the commander whispered what no one dared say before. "We are trapped." The patrol staggered across the desert like broken shadows. Their armor hung loose, their weapons felt heavy, their eyes burned with sleepless terror. Once, they had marched with pride, soldiers of the Empire, hunters feared across worlds. Now they walked like prey, trembling at every sound. The desert belonged to the human, and they knew it. The commander tried to hide his fear, his voice raw as he shouted, "Hold formation, stay together." But the soldiers no longer obeyed with discipline. They obeyed with desperation, clinging to one another like frightened children. The scout whispered constantly, his voice a ghost in the wind. "He is close, always close. He never leaves us." At night, their fire barely burned. The human had stolen most of their fuel, just as he had stolen their food and water. Their rations were gone, their throats cracked from thirst, their stomachs twisted in hunger. Yet still the human lived. Still he moved with strength. It was impossible. It was terrifying. When dawn came, they found symbols scratched into their own armor. While they slept, the human had touched them, carved warnings into the steel plates that covered their chests. None had felt it. None had seen him. The marks were clear, a line, then a circle, then a slash through both. The scout's voice cracked. "He marks us as prey, one by one, until only bones remain." The soldiers argued, their minds fraying. One shouted that they should flee into the dunes. Another said they should dig deep and hide. But their commander knew the truth, his voice low and bitter. "There is no escape. Every step we take, he has already planned. Every move we make, he has already seen." That night the human showed them something new. As the fire burned low, a figure appeared on the edge of the dunes, just a shadow, tall, still, unmoving. The soldiers raised their weapons, hearts pounding. But when they charged, the shadow vanished. All they found was a crude figure made from bones and cloth, planted in the sand, a decoy, a taunt, a message. He wanted them to know how easily he could stand among them. One soldier broke down, screaming, "He is everywhere. He is a ghost. He will kill us all." He threw down his weapon and ran into the night. Moments later, his scream echoed, cut short. When the patrol followed, they found his body hanging upside down from a cliff, his eyes wide open, his throat cut with precision. Above him, drawn in blood, was the same predator's mark. The commander fell silent, his pride crushed, his soldiers shattered. Each loss was not just death, it was theater. The human was not killing for survival, he was killing to break them, to make them see the truth. They were not hunters, they were prey. The whistle returned again, but now it was slower, deeper, not playful, not mocking, but commanding. It echoed across the dunes, steady as a heartbeat. Boom, pause, boom, pause. The scout clutched his ears, crying out, "He is inside our minds. He wants us broken before he strikes." By dawn, none of them spoke. They marched like hollow shells, their fear so deep it crushed all thoughts. Every shadow became his face, every sound became his steps. And when the commander looked back, he realized something terrible. Their footprints stretched for miles, but behind them, alongside them, even among them, were his. The human had not been following. The human had been walking with them, unseen, unheard, a shadow in plain sight. The scout's voice was gone now, his lips trembling as he whispered the final truth. "We are already dead, he only decides when." The sixth night was the worst. The desert wind had died, leaving the air heavy and still. No sound of shifting sand, no cry of desert beasts, no whisper of life. Only silence, deep and endless, pressing against their ears until it felt like suffocation. The patrol huddled together, their fire weak, their weapons trembling in their hands. They had lost almost everyone. Only a handful remained, broken and hollow. The commander sat among them, his armor cracked, his face pale, his eyes sunken. Once, he had been the loudest voice, the strongest will. But now he stared into the dark with fear, like the rest. The scout crouched close, his hands shaking. "He is here," he whispered. "He is in the silence." The others cursed him, told him to stop, but none could deny the truth. The silence itself felt alive, crawling into their minds. Every section stretched longer, heavier, until it felt like time itself had stopped. Then it began, not with a scream, not with a weapon, but with a single sound, a footstep inside their circle. Soft, slow, deliberate. The soldiers spun, weapons raised, but there was nothing, only firelight flickering, only shadows shifting. Another step behind them this time, then another, closer inside their ranks. The patrol panicked, firing into the dark, light flashing, sand exploding, but every blast hit nothing, only empty air. And then came the sound of laughter, low and calm, echoing across the dunes. The humans' laughter. The soldiers screamed, one dropping his weapon, another running into the black. A moment later, his scream ended in silence, his body dragged away by unseen hands. The commander shouted orders, but his voice cracked. The silence swallowed him, the desert swallowed him, and then the fire went out. Darkness consumed them, thick and suffocating. The patrol could see nothing, only hear. Their own breaths, their own hearts, and the footsteps circling them. Closer, faster, never stopping. One soldier fired wildly, but the shot only lit the human's shadow for a heartbeat. Tall, relentless, eyes glowing like embers. Then he vanished again, swallowed by the dark. The scout fell to his knees, his voice breaking. "He does not fight like us. He does not strike like us. This is not war. This is a hunt, and we are the prey." The commander grabbed him, shaking, desperate. "Then how do we kill him?" he roared. But the scout only shook his head, his eyes empty. "You cannot kill the desert. You cannot kill the night. You cannot kill what does not stop." Another scream cut through the dark. Another soldier gone. Then another and another. Each taken in silence, each erased from existence as if the desert swallowed them whole. By dawn, only 3 remained, the commander, the scout, and one broken soldier who muttered prayers without pause. Their camp was gone, their supplies gone, their brothers gone. The desert was quiet again, but it was no longer silence. It issued. As his silence, the commander stood weakly, his voice hollow. "We march no more," he said, but the scout pointed at the horizon, his hands trembling, his lips dry. "No," he whispered. "We march still, but not by our choice." He pointed at the sand where footprints stretched in neat lines. Not theirs, but the humans, leading them onward. The trap was complete, the hunt was ending, and the final strike was near. The sun rose over the desert like fire spilling across the dunes. The last 3 aliens stood weak and broken, their armor cracked, their throats dry, their minds hollow. They had once been hunters of the Empire, feared across galaxies. Now they looked like prisoners waiting for execution. The commander's steps dragged as he walked. Every grain of sand felt heavy. Every breath was pain. The scout followed close, whispering to himself like a madman. He herds us, he pushes us, he decides where we go. The last soldier stumbled behind, his lips moving in endless prayer. None of them spoke to one another because words no longer mattered. Ahead of them, the footprints continued. Neat, endless, cutting through the desert in perfect lines. They had followed them all night without knowing why, but in their hearts they understood. This was the path the human had chosen, and they were already trapped within it. By midday, the dunes opened into a wide basin of stone. Tall cliffs rose around them, sharp and jagged, a cage of rock. The commander froze, his heart sinking. "He led us here," he whispered. The scout nodded slowly, his face pale. "This is the end." The air was still, too still. No wind, no sound, only the heat pressing down like a weight. Then came the whistle, sharp and clear, echoing from every wall. The aliens spun, weapons raised, but their hands shook too much to aim. The whistle grew louder, then stopped, and in the silence they saw him, the human. Stepped from the shadows of the cliffs, his body covered in dust and blood, his eyes burning like fire. He did not stumble, he did not crawl. He stood tall, steady, unstoppable. For 3 days he had run, for 3 nights he had hunted. Now he came to finish what he began. The last soldier screamed and fired, his weapon shaking. But the blast hit nothing. The human moved with speed born of survival. He struck with a sharpened stone faster than their eyes could follow. The soldier fell, silent, his prayer unfinished. The commander and the scout stepped back, their hearts frozen. The human did not chase. He did not rush. He walked slowly toward them, like a predator certain of the kill. The scout dropped to his knees, his eyes wide with terror and awe. "This is no man," he whispered. "This is what humans are. This is what made them kings of their world." The commander roared, raising his blade in one final stand. But his strike was weak, his body too broken. The human caught his arm, twisted, and ended it with a single blow. The commander fell, his pride dying before his body. Only the scout remained, trembling on the sand. He looked into the human's eyes and saw no mercy, not cruelty, not hatred, only purpose. The purpose of a predator finishing the hunt. His voice cracked as he whispered, "You were never prey, were you?" The human stood over him, silent. Then he turned away, leaving the scout alive but broken. The whistle echoed one last time across the basin, a sound not of victory, not of joy, but of truth. The truth that had haunted the patrol since the first day. Humans did not run because they were weak. Humans ran because they never stopped. And when they hunted, nothing in the galaxy could escape.